Hello, I'm Flint McGlaughlin. This is my third trip into the studio. My staff has asked me to come in here, tell a little bit about the history, tell you a little bit about our methodology and our meta theory, and then tell you a little bit about our results. This is that third video. It's more focused on case studies and experiments, and it would mean more to you if you've seen a bit about the theory that we use to understand and to discern how to get a performance increase. But let me drill down and give you an example. And you can see on the slide behind me that there are two key components, we think, in any process like this. The first is knowing how to test, and that's not a given. Most companies are not doing it right. Most companies are not even testing for the 4 or 5 essential sort of validity threats that might render all their data invalid. The other thing you'll see is knowing how to test isn't enough. Knowing precisely what to test, knowing how to build a design of experiments, it's critical to achieving the maximum yield. Adequacy is the enemy of excellence, and you need both of those components in order to achieve the true opportunity or the true yield that exists in your current offering. I want to show you how we took those two components and brought them to bear on a particular research project. You'll see behind me a test protocol. This is from our library. We have the world's largest library of case studies and experiments, and this is simple. Our goal here was to drive more subscriptions. Now, there's a backstory, and I'd love to share it with you. All that I can say is that this particular product at this particular time was underperforming. Conversion yield was not where it needed to be, and people were missing their numbers, and people were concerned. I was lecturing in New York City when I was first approached by one of the leaders from the New York Times, and eventually it led to the project I'm going to show you right now. We do, in case you aren't familiar with our model, we're a research institution, not a consultancy. We do have a services group inside, much like Wharton has or MIT has, and we took some of the consulting expertise inside of the lab and put them on this particular project. We do that, by the way, because it helps us ground our research in real-world examples. And we find that it's the combination here of philosophy and science and practice that produces the greatest fruit for our research goals. And so we began with a page, and this page was built by the world's largest digital agency. And I recall being asked, Dr. McGlaughlin, using one of your heuristics, can you look at this page and tell us if you discern any particular issues that might be impacting conversion? And I looked at it and said, well, the column on the right is in the wrong part of the I path. The headline is wrong. The opening paragraph has been structured incorrectly, and there's no I path through it. The image is in the wrong place on the page, and the call to action is wrong. I remember the response, which was a quiet sort of swallowing, and then someone said to me, graciously, Dr. McGlaughlin, is there any way you can get a conversion lift on this page without changing it very much? Well, you know, how do you respond to a question like that? I wanted to be helpful, and I did understand that there were reasons for that request, and so I said, well, let's just focus on the call to action. So that's what we did. We took this page and we created this page. Now, this page isn't substantially different except where it comes to the call to action, and what we did is we reduced the number of options. On the left side, you have evenly weighted options. Our heuristics told us that this was going to cause some issues and slow down the velocity of the sale. In fact, it's just far too much unsupervised thinking. So what we did was create this page, which produced for them a remarkable result, a 64% increase. Now remember, this is a digital offering, and so that's high margin gains for them. And I recall the excitement, and I recall the leader saying to me, well, Dr. McGlaughlin, is there anything else you can do? Because with this kind of lift, we could really hit our numbers and turn this all around. And so I said, well, you constrained our wording at the bottom of our treatment. Give me more freedom with that treatment, and I'll see if we can state it in a new way that will impact the thought sequence. At Meclabs, we don't believe in optimizing web pages. We believe in optimizing thought sequences. And in this case, we produced a page that visually is very similar. But there is a dramatic difference in the thought sequence. And that's a key to understanding the way we approach any particular project. It's all about what's happening in the mind of the prospect. And in this case, we designed a page that looks similar, but actually it's dramatically different. Because what it did was drive up the clarity of the offer so that the free trial felt like a free trial. And you can see the results, a 541% increase in conversion. This was, it was a complete game changer. And I remember being told then, Dr. McGlaughlin, if you'd run one more experiment, we'll let you change this page any way you'd like. And we hesitated, but eventually we said yes. So we went to the next piece, and that was to take the page you see now and design it to compete with our own treatments. Now remember, all this is compounding. That 541% is on top of a 64% gain. We wanted to lower expectations because we'd made some significant changes already to the thought sequence. So we said, don't count on more than a 20% increase. What they achieved here was a 47% increase, which, again, is compounding. And we said, you know what, if you just let us change a word or two, we think there's another 10%. So we made a change, and the second version produced a 12% increase. And then we did the unthinkable. We said, I know this feels like success. I know that you're satisfied, but adequacy is the enemy of excellence, and now we want to challenge everything we've done with a radical redesign. A radical redesign is a complete change of category. And they didn't want to do this. There was great resistance because they were winning now and they didn't want to mess with success. But I felt like that there might be a whole new approach that could produce an even greater gain. Now, when you're doing a radical redesign, it may not be just a difference in look and feel. That's one way. Another is a complete difference in tone. Another way is a difference in copy length. There are others, but we chose this third way. We went to long copy. And this created a lot of trepidation on the part of our research partner. And I just want to say this. These were smart people who took significant risk and who performed a wonderful service for their organization and teamed up with us. And I'm very grateful for the way we all learned together. I don't want to characterize this as the geniuses at Meclabs helped the poor people at this company achieve a result. It's not true. We could have never done this without remarkable input and help and feedback and courage on the part of the other party. But here's the net result. We produced a long copy version. And despite their trepidation, they had the courage to run it, although it took us a few months, and eventually we did. And what they saw is a further 88% increase. Now that's 88% compounding. So that if you look at the financial math, you might say it's remarkable. Bear in mind this. These are featured, sort of highlighted experiments. There were other iterations in between. And this took 18 months. So I don't want you to imagine this. I don't want to make this grander than it is. But it was a remarkable improvement. And it's a good example of what happens when you think about optimization in a completely different way. Most of us are satisfied with a small gain. We have random testing, a chaotic process. We have no design of experiments, and we certainly don't have a meta theory about human behavior which explains or helps us develop a hypothesis about the customer that stands, that works. At Meclabs, we're trying to take rigorous science, combine it with a sort of philosophical challenge. Are our assumptions right? To develop a meta theory that we can then push into practice and test it in the real world and see how effective it truly is. That's what drives everything we do. And we have experiment after experiment just like this with results from all over the world in different languages and different cultures, and we're still learning. And we welcome you to help us learn even more. Thank you.